Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of July 8th, 2025, and we are starting at 7:02. We're going to start with public comment. I'm going to read a statement. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity to listen to residents' feedback and concerns, but the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a question and answer format. There will be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and 3 minutes per speaker. I would encourage those that do wish to speak to be mindful of others in the room who wish to do the same so that we can make the most of the time allotted and hear from as many people as possible. Anyone who does not wish to speak or who is unable to speak due to the time limit may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. Welcome, Brenda. That on?
Okay. Brenda Sweeney, Canton, my humble opinion. That sounds wicked loud, is that?
Yeah, I think you made them louder last time.
Okay. To quote Albert Einstein, never strive to be a success, but rather to be of value. We can't strive to solve John's murder, but our voice can be of value, so people that can solve it are successful. The value of our voice is immeasurable. It's both a sword and a shield, a true gift indeed. Morrissey spent millions, more than a third of his entire operating budget, to pin it on Karen Reed. He didn't anticipate an army in pink using the value of our voices to support Karen. Once Morrissey's plan failed, his supporters packed their bags and got on with their lives, not looking for the real killers. Tell us they know who, and they're scrambling to protect them. Someone doesn't want us to continue protesting in Canton. Once we're on Washington Street, the dog and pony show starts. They come by yelling things like, "You're still here, it's over, forget about it, get a job, you're sick, you losers." How about get a life? The absolute absurdity of that one. John has no life, yet they want us to shut up and go home. Sometimes we get, "You won, go home," like murder's a game. That certainly speaks to their character, or lack thereof, doesn't it, Mr. Forrester? It's over when there's justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Remember him, how you shouted, "Justice for JJ," put on blue shirts, wore those pins, put out all those signs? Remember JJ? We do, that's why we're here. It's hard to believe you want the world to wash their hands of John, forget about him, and go home. Morrissey's mob has no morals or ethics. Their oath is just a formality. They want to go back to business as usual. Any one of us could be Karen Reed and they wouldn't lose any sleep over it. It's hard to fathom they tried to frame her, ridiculed the law by placing their thumb on the scales of justice. Worse yet, that judge made a total mockery of public trust. Thankfully, the jury saw the value of the experts as they became a shield for the innocent. Jackson, Yannetti, Little, Alessi, Betterow, they understand the ethical duty that binds them to our laws, much like Sergeant Barrows, who exemplifies fidelity to the oath. Their integrity personifies what the justice system is meant to be, why the Pink Army stood up to fight. We're here until John's killers are in silver bracelets. The click of cuffs on their wrists will be our swan song for John. If you helped, you should start worrying about your value shifting to disposable income, because they'll make a deal for their own benefit. Then it's you and karma. Is she your friend or your worst nightmare? We'll be back. Our sword and our shield, our voice is here to stay. We want those killers to understand the value of our voice, to hear it loud and clear every single day. Thank you.
I'm Ashley Bell. I live on Dedham Street. Canton shouldn't have a contract with a union-busting $2 billion corporation or support scabs picking up our trash. Canton needs to pressure Republic Services to give our sanitation workers the benefits they need. And to the non-union rats who are about to cross the picket line, just remember, you're cashing a check for a $2 billion company that doesn't care if you live or die.
No one else? Alrighty then.
All right. First up on the agenda, it's a little loud, is a petition from Verizon New England, Inc. and NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, petition for Verizon job number 4AOXP9R, Spring Lane, Canton, Mass. We have a representative here to speak about it.
Verizon to relocate joint pole 2, located on the westerly side of Spring Lane to a point approximately 12 feet northwesterly from its current location. This petition is required to accommodate a new driveway.
Oh, what?
So, pretty good.
I've got nothing.
I move that the board approve the petition from Verizon New England, Inc. and NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, petition for the Verizon job 4AOXP9R, Spring Lane, Canton, Mass. to relocate one JO pole P.2 located on the westerly side of Spring Lane to a point of approximately 12 feet northwesterly from its current location.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
All right. Next, I move that we consider the request to access 1.5.
Clerk, I'm sorry. Mr. Folin and Mr. Lynch, I think they plan on being there at 7:15 because
when
we
we
thought the
skip-
meeting,
yeah.
can we just push them down
All right.
until they get here?
Gotcha. Actually, just realized. All right, so Randy's here, so we're considering authorizing FYI 2025 reserve fund transfer request.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Town Administrator.
Mr. Scollins?
Early, get to jump the queue.
Lucky you get to go home early?
Excellent, thank you. So we're here to talk about annual year-end reserve fund transfers. And this year, we have 8 budgets that are in need of relief. I think, I apologize for sending them late this afternoon. They should be in your Dropbox, but we were waiting for the payroll and expense warrants to run today so that we had the most accurate numbers possible. So that's why the delay. But there are 8 areas needing relief. In total, it's $750,974.21. That exceeds our reserve fund balance of $600,000. However, because of Chapter 44, Section 33B, it's initially supported and voted into law by former Governor Romney in 2006. Cities and towns are allowed to transfer from other non-school budgets to other non-school budgets if they have a surplus. And so we have that situation here, and that's how we're able to recommend solving the entirety of the $750,000 and change issues. So I was just going to go through them for you briefly. So the first one is in Public Works. It's the Highway Equipment Division and Highway Maintenance Division. They experience extraordinary expenses in the area of repair and maintenance of vehicles, $176,000 over budget. Overtime due to being down a mechanic for almost the entirety of the year, $20,000. Highway maintenance overtime, $22,000, and highway maintenance summer help, $40,000, due to an extraordinary amount of road and grounds work. And speaking to Superintendent Trotta, or taking your spot, the driver of the highway equipment maintenance expenses were the needed replacement of 2 engines in heavy construction vehicles. In addition to that, the mechanics made great progress on a backlog of other repairs in February and March due to the fact that there were only 4 plowable snow events at the time, so that they were able to catch up. So that's what driving the need for $235,000. However, there were 15 sanding and salting events, mostly on Saturdays and Sundays, which drove the next deficit in the snow and ice budget of $195,774.27. The DPW superintendent did request authorization to exceed the snow and ice budget back in February when the budget was 80% expended. The next item is $165,500 for the police department. And this is a result of recommendations in the Five Stones Intelligence Police Audit Report. It was jointly decided and recommended by the Police Audit Working Group to begin investment in more training this past June. Specifically, crime scene training attended by the entire department and internal affairs training for sergeants, detectives, and the command staff. Fees for these two classes were $29,600 combined for the training partners, and then plus overtime costs associated with for the police officers. So because we will exhaust the FinCom reserve fund with all of these requests, the three funding sources that are cited here to cure this deficit. The first is $17,529.79 from the FinCom reserve fund itself. $75,000 to be funded with a transfer from surplus in the assessor's budget, which the head of the assessing department, Caroline Floyd, she's agreed to that. She has about $80,000 excess this year in that department, so she signed to agree to transfer that. And then $75,974.21 to be funded from a transfer of surplus in the town council budget, which the town administrator has authorized utilizing that. And again, those transfers are authorized by Chapter 44, Section 33B. The next item is in compensated absences. $72,969.10 is needed to cure this deficit. There were several employee retirements this year where the town was contractually obligated to pay for accrued vacation and sick time. The total amounts exceeded the annual budget, and retirements were from the police, fire, DPW, library, and Board of Health departments. Next item is the trash budget. The new 5-year trash contract awarded to Republic effective fiscal 25 was $55,000 higher than budgeted in the first year. However, the request is for $49,200 to fully fund that department. The next item is $21,000 for the town clerk and the elections and registrars. This was a result of an extra November special town meeting and an unplanned December special town election, both associated with voting on the Galvin Middle School day exclusion. Increased costs were incurred in order to hold these extra events. $12,000 in additional election worker salaries, $11,600 in additional police detail costs were incurred. Unbudgeted costs were even higher than this $21,000, but were offset by use of a state grant and federal ARPA funds totaling $15,200 in total. Second to last item is planning board, $6,000. The planning board's budget was overspent due entirely to extraordinary advertising costs associated with publishing 13 zoning articles in the Canton Citizen for both the special town meeting and the annual town meeting. Those advertising costs exceeded the advertising budget line by $15,000, but within the planning board budget, only $6,000 is needed to cure that deficit. And the last item is related to the Norfolk Agricultural High School. Canton student enrollment at the Norfolk Aggie was up 5 students in 2025 from 7 to 12. In addition, student tuition was increased by 4.5% to $4,507 on average. Student tuition was less than half the current rate at $2,200 only 3 years ago, and student enrollment had averaged 8.6 for the 5 years prior to 2025. So this year we saw a spike in students, and the tuition at the Norfolk Aggie continues to rise. So that is the grand total of all of those reserve fund requests, and this is stop one on the year-end reserve fund transfer tour. Tomorrow night we'll be meeting with the finance committee for them to
Questions, anyone?
Randy, you might not know the answer to this, but on the DPW one, the repair and maintenance of vehicles, 176, and then overtime because we were down a mechanic. Is that why the repairs of the vehicles was high, because we were down a mechanic? Or at least partly?
It was partly to pay for the increased overtime that the mechanics that we did had to work, but that we also had 2 major engine replacements in 2 of the heavy equipment vehicles. So those were expensive. But then in addition to that, again, because of the limited amount of snow plowing events, there was more time in February and March for the mechanics to address, a significant backlog. So they actually got a lot more done, to put more of their equipment back in service.
That's it? Thank
All
you,
right.
Randy.
I move that the board support the request to the balance the budgets in deficit. $235,000 for DPW extraordinary equipment and highway maintenance expenses, $195,774.27 for snow and ice above the average winter conditions, $168,500 for police training as recommended by the police audit, $72,969.10 for compensated absences, several requirements across multiple departments, $49,200 for trash recycling, new contract higher than the expected budget, $21,000 for town clerk and elections in registrars, extra special town meeting and special town election, $6,000 for planning board extraordinary zoning article advertising costs, $2,530.84 for Norfolk Agricultural High School increased Canton enrollment for a grand total of $750,974.21, using the entirety of the $600,000 reserve fund budget, along with $75,000 transfer from surplus in the assessors budget and $75,974.21 transfer from the surplus in the Canton Council budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Three-zip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks for everything. All right, so what I'm going to do is circle back. Next up is to consider to access $1,500,000 in special education reserve funds to offset the projected FY25 deficit. Mr. Follen and Mr. Lynch, you had to speak on that.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Evening.
You can see we
You matched.
matched. Yeah, we knew when we were walking in, so we'll just get to that right now.
I did notice it.
I know that you don't miss those things, so I figured I'd just state it. Well, thank you for having us here. Yes, we are seeking approval to access 1.5 million in the special reserve. It has been a new year regarding our finances and review with Mr. Lynch at the helm. He will address all sort of how we got here and sort of the recovery that we're in through multiple years. This was thoroughly reviewed by our subcommittee for finance, for a school committee, and then approved by school committee as well. So with that, I just wanted to share that on behalf of the committee, and we know that this requires 2 votes, select board and school committee. And turn it over to Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, thanks. So included in your materials tonight, is a memo that is very similar to what was presented to school committee a few weeks ago. At the time of writing, our projected deficit was about 1.425 for special education cost overruns. And because that was about a month ago, we're now approached the end of the year. The last trickling in of services and additional sort of very difficult to estimate costs are starting to trickle in. So we're getting very close to that 1.5 that we're requesting tonight. The use of this fund, as stated in the memo, is really to allow the district to absorb a significant cost increase in out-of-district tuitions and transportation and related services from about 2022. When the state allowed a 14% increase in tuitions, and then sort of the exterior service providers sort of followed suit. So we have been able to utilize this fund to absorb this cost over multiple years, which really allows the district to be able to deliver services equally year over year, maintain our staff where other towns and cities are facing potential overrides, staff reductions, service reductions to sort of balance out that increased cost. So, tonight, as we said, we're asking for the 1.5 to balance our budget for FY25. We built FY26 without any intention of accessing the sped reserve fund, and hope to truly return to a place where it becomes a true reserve of a new student has moved in, someone we haven't budgeted for. Something changes within an IEP that's significant enough that we can't absorb it within our operating or other special reserve funds.
I'll just add on to that as well. The cost controls that Mr. Lynch put in place and just sort of going through the year. One thing that when we met with FinCom last summer, they asked for regular quarterly meetings to get a sense with their liaisons. We met with Cindy Thomas and have been in touch with Emilio all the way through and Randy Scollin. So we projected somewhere in this range, and it being a little bit more, but we thought that was important. And I've also been in touch with our legislators around the volatility. One big driver that happened, which hopefully is going to be corrected in this new state budget, is our biggest cost, even beyond tuition, is the transportation that you're mandated to do. And 2 years ago, it was a 75% reimbursement, and then it changed to 44% as we started our school year. So again, talked to Rep. Galvin, Senator Feeney, and just said, that's not something that schools can absorb. Meanwhile, the tuition cost of 14% up to 25% in providers in going through is something that, we've had to correct. Their increases are more to the 4 and 5% through this upcoming year. So as I explained to the FinCom liaison, Ms. Cindy Thomas, it's going to take multiple years to get out of this. And there were 45 towns that went the override route, and many had layoffs. We're very grateful for Canton that this reserve has been available. It's always been there as an example for sort of extraordinary situations. Students move in, costs and such. And the way the town works too for circuit breaker reimbursement, you have all those students come in, you don't get the money for the additional students until the following year. So it's a challenge, and I appreciate the work of Mr. Lynch and the support of the town to sort of mitigate this through multiple years. But this is something that we went to school committee and said we need this to balance the budget, and then we feel like we've built out a healthy budget, and hopefully the support of a better state budget might put us in a better situation.
I have one question. I know the answer to my question, but I just want you to be very clear for everyone, because when I read this, I thought we were borrowing from the special ed fund, and you're putting money into the special ed fund.
Well, so there's currently, appropriated in November was 1.6 million, and then at the most recent annual town meeting in May, an additional $1 million was added. So we're looking to access 1.5 of the current 2.6 that's available.
Okay. And it's for special ed.
Yes.
So,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's, it reads weird when you read it on.
Sure.
You
Sorry.
had some different letters coming into the select board's office regarding it.
Yep.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
No, it's, obviously I have history. I know how difficult it is to forecast special ed costs, and a student could move in March that needs extreme services. And like you said, we don't get reimbursed for a lot of that until the following year. So to echo the chair's point, this money is coming out of the account to allow you guys to pay the bills. This is actually an annual thing. You guys come to us about this time each year asking us to do this. So this is not taking money to offset a shortage in the school budget elsewhere. This isn't buying football uniforms or soccer fields or anything like that. It's strictly for the special ed costs. So. Yep.
All right, so I move that the board approve the request to access $1.5 million in special education reserve funds to offset the projected FY25 deficit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Appreciate it.
You guys look great.
Thanks.
You're lucky I walked.
Yeah, let me know next time so I can
Nice matching
join
on
in.
I know.
Even the shoes, I hope Cable 8 gets it.
I know. Hand down.
Oh my God, they do.
See ya.
Okay, next up, I move that the board refer proposed zoning articles to the planning board and consider the approval of the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-2.
Okay, so the next one up here, guys, is just, it's a license issued to Canton Auto Sales. It has a limit of 2 vehicles per zoning decision from 2000. This is just changing the ownership and not the terms of the license. I move that the board approve the application to change business structure on used car dealership license issued to Canton Auto Sales at 1158 Washington Street from a sole proprietor to a partnership.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The receipt.
Okay, next, I move that the board approve the request to hold the annual 5K road race on September 14th, 2025 at the Irish Cultural Center, 200 New Boston Drive, contingent upon police and fire approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I move that the board appoint a member to the Economic Development Committee, John Foley.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board appoint a member to the Cultural Council, Sherry Alpert.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board approve and accept the conveyance by Canton Holdings LLC of 2 lots in 5 as shown on the plans referred hereon known as Upper and Lower Forge Pond to be held and maintained for conservation, open space, and passive recreation.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board accept and authorize the use of, in accordance with the terms thereunder, Mass General Law 44, subsection 53A, the following donations to the Department of Elder and Human Services: $100 from Lillian Bob Minur and $60 from Miss Irma Barati.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I move that the board accept and authorize the use of the gift in accordance with the terms thereof under Mass General Law 44, subsection 53A, the grant of $50,000 from Outfront Media for Shawmut in 95 locations.
Madam Chair, just before you vote on that, I had a question this week about this agenda item, just wanted to clarify. This is part of the quarterly grant from Outfront Media for the 3 billboards that we have in town, and that money goes into the billboard mitigation fund. And often you access mitigation funds for projects that are unplanned or emergencies. So just wanted to be clear on that.
So motion's been made and seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, next, I move that the board accept and authorize, no, I already did that one, sorry, guys. I move that the board approve the one-day entertainment permit for Trillium Brewing Company at 100 Royal Street on Sunday, September 28th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for a DJ to be used for the Cabby Road Race and request the allowance of alcohol at 10 a.m., both times outside of approved licenses, permitted hours, contingent upon police approval, and I'm assuming a fire approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I move that the board approve the one-day entertainment permit for live music at Trillium Brewing Company at 100 Royal Street on Sunday, September 21st, 2025, from 11 p.m. to 5 p.m. for Oktoberfest to be held on the outdoor patio contingent upon police, fire, and zoning board and building approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Could I comment on that? It said 11 PM to 5
Did I
PM,
just-
but the 11 AM.
That would be a typo. That's 11.
Good catch. Good
Yep.
catch.
Yeah.
You are correct, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Just adjust
I
that.
probably should have recognized it. Yeah. I'll amend that motion to the time of 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
It'll be an all-nighter.
Second the friendly motion.
All in
Oh,
favor?
so we do, wait,
I made an amendment to it.
okay.
So we did a friendly.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next, I move that the board approve a one-day entertainment permit for DJ to play music at Trillium Brewing Company, 100 Royal Street on Sunday, August 17, 2025, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. on the outdoor patio contingent upon police, fire, zoning board, and building approval.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I move that the board approve another one-day entertainment license for live music at Trillium Brewing Company, 100 Royal Street, on Sunday, October 12th, 2025, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for Fall Fest to be held on the outdoor patio contingent upon police, fire, zoning board, and building board approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I move that the board approve the cemetery commitments in the amount of $7,100.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, I move that the board approve the cemetery lot perpetual care deeds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment final bills in the amount of $1,359,817.91.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I move that the board approve the water and sewer commitment residential in the amount of $11,933.93.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up is the vendor warrant for the total for the week of 6/26/2025, $1,654,656.94. The payroll warrant total for the week of 6/26/2025, $3,068,404.88. The payroll warrant total for the week of 6/26/2025, $110,863.03. Next, the vendor warrant for the total week of 7/3/2025, $11,230,530.20. All right. Next, I move that the board approve the select board minute meetings on June 24th and June 26th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Next up is the town administrator update. Mr. Duty?
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So I'm going to update the folks on what everybody knows about clearly is the interruption of trash service due to the labor dispute between Republic Services and the Teamsters, Local 25, I believe. So this interruption in trash services impacts 17 communities in total. Canton obviously is one of them. Many of these communities are on the North Shore. We had a call today with all 17 communities and representatives from Republic, and all communities are experiencing the same problems with Republic Services at this point. Trash pickup has been inconsistent, and communication from Republic has been inconsistent as well. So we are struggling to get good information that we can pass on to our residents. The plan going forward is to send out a nightly call to residents via the Everbridge reverse 911 system to advise folks on what the plan is for the next day for trash collection. We were advised by Republic today that their focus is going to be on trash rather than recycle, but there is still a chance that a recycle truck will be in town, so people can put both out at the curbside, and hopefully both are collected, but trash is definitely the focus because of the public health risk of trash collecting on the sidewalk. We've received a lot of phone calls and emails from folks who are concerned about a perception that the town is somehow not supportive of the union in their efforts to negotiate a fair contract. This is not the case. We are not anti-union. Many of our employees are unionized. We are, along with the 16 other communities, urging Republic Services to go back to the table and negotiate a fair deal for their employees. And we are continuing to put the pressure on Republic to do just that. I can't say with any certainty when that will be done. My hope is that it will be done in the next week or two, but we have no guarantees from either side about when that's going to happen. So if you got a call the other day that said that our trash pickup would resume on its normal schedule, that's what we were told. And we asked folks who had trash pickup scheduled for Monday to put their trash and recycle at the curbside for pickup. Republic has dedicated 3 trucks to the Canton routes, but unfortunately, with new drivers at this time and being unfamiliar with the routes and the difficulty that they're having getting out of the yard where their trucks are stored because of the union issues, they're just not getting through 100% of the routes on a daily basis. So what that means is that, for example, Monday's trash, perhaps 25% of that route was collected and the remainder is not. And we were told at the time that what would happen is the next day on Tuesday, they would finish the Monday route and then move on to Tuesday's route. So as you can see, it's almost like a domino effect because they're never, right now, they're not going to be able to collect 100% of every route. So it's going to keep pushing this down the track. So tomorrow, which is Wednesday?
Yep.
Tomorrow's Wednesday. They are going to try to complete Tuesday's route, which they started today. They did not get very far, 15%, 10%, right around there. So they're going to continue Tuesday's route tomorrow. That means if you were scheduled to put out trash on Wednesday, it's likely not going to be collected tomorrow because they're finishing Tuesday. So what we will do is we will send out a nightly call advising residents what day, what route should be put out based on the collection day. So tomorrow we'll send out a call advising people, hey, listen, if your normal collection day is Wednesday, put your trash out, or not, depending on what kind of progress they make tomorrow. The one complicating factor is we told folks that if they were collected on Monday to put their trash out Monday. They got through, as I said, 20 to 25%. They are not coming back to finish Monday's route. They have decided to move on to Tuesday because Monday was at the actual last full route that was collected before the strike. So they've opted to move on to Tuesday and go from there. So if you did put your trash out on Monday and was not collected, you should take it back in and wait for next Monday or whatever day we advise on the call. This is a dynamic situation. It changes day to day, sometimes changes hour to hour. We're doing the best we can to keep people informed. As I said, reverse calls. We're updating the website daily. And then folks should also think seriously about going on to the Town of Canton website and registering for updates. So you can go on to the homepage and you can register for email notifications. Our Everbridge platform, if you go to the community tab and select emergency notification sign up link, you can keep yourself informed. So anything that we put out via email, via phone call, via website post, you'll get notified. So you'll be up to date with the latest information that we can offer you. So all I can do is promise you that we will try to keep people informed. We are literally in an untenable position. We cannot get your trash picked up any earlier. We have opened the Pine Street transfer station and we have ordered extra containers. So folks who either the trash didn't get picked up or they don't want their trash picked up by non-union drivers, you can take your trash to the transfer and dispose of it there, and it will be hauled away by non-Republic employees. So that's the update.
Thank you. Greg, yeah.
Greg Murphy, Kent resident. So you answered a lot of the questions, Kelly. Thank you. One question I guess I still have is, has Republic indicated whether they're still ramping up additional people to basically catch up? And you mentioned it's being pushed further and further down. Are they bringing in additional resources to help catch up on that? Or is really the only resolution going to be resolving the contract dispute at this point?
That's the only resolution is for the negotiations to be resolved. The complete resolution and resumption to normal services, Greg. However, Republic is a nationwide company. So part of the contingency plan was to bring in drivers from other parts of the country. They require about 37 drivers to do the work that they're contracted to do in these communities. And they were able to bring in 34. So they're actually a little bit short, but they're almost staffed to where they should be. The problem is, even with that amount of drivers, you know, as close as it is, it's experience. They don't know the routes. They are having difficulty, you know, access, getting out and into their facility and even in the towns themselves. So we did ask them today in the call if they had plans to augment those drivers. They were non-committal about that. These drivers are signed on for 2 weeks. So at the end of 2 weeks, they have to re-sign or they have to bring in more drivers. The other complicating factor is that the drivers are regulated by DOT standards, so they can only drive so many hours a day. I believe it's 14 hours, and then they're required to have a 10-hour rest period. So those rest periods periods become gaps that can't be filled. They can do no pickups during those rest periods. So that puts them further behind as well. So that's the situation as it stands.
So it may slightly get better over the course of the next 2 weeks, but then we might go back to square one. if
Well,
not,
according to Republic officials, as this progresses, the drivers theoretically would become more familiar with the routes and therefore more efficient. But I don't know if I'm buying that.
Understood. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sweeney, I just wanted to say they were on my street, and the actual striking Republic guys are allowed to, I guess they're allowed to stop the truck for 2 minutes at every house,
That's correct.
and then there's nothing anybody can do about that. So that is also adding to the delay. I know people were concerned because they saw that going on, and I just think people need to know that that's what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. Initially, the initial plan was to obstruct the trash truck for 7 minutes, and that was negotiated down
Just two.
to 2 minutes. Yeah,
2 is still a lot.
yeah, it's a long time.
Already done.
Any other announcements from anybody? All right, next, the Select Board will hold its next meeting on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025, 7 PM at the Sala Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street. Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:44.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Not me. Just let's keep going. No. I'm kidding. All right, thank you.
Trish, 45 minutes?
Bam.
I'll tell you what, that's pretty
I
good.
like it. We knew it was going to be
The next was for number 6, 7, and 17. Number 6 and 7 are on attached, and 17 and 25 CR 8 is on for agreement. Come forward and identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Robert Cosgrove. Good afternoon.
Hello, Your Honor. Tim on behalf of Aiden Carney, to my left.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Carney. And Mark Meadow. Hi, Mr. Meadow. Good afternoon. Okay, let's arraign him on the new case.
On May 13th, 2025, the grand jury sitting in the county of Norfolk returned indictment number 2582 CR 00088 charging as follows. Offense 1, charging intimidation of a witness, and offense 2, charging intimidation of a witness. Do you wish to waive the full reading of these indictments?
Yes.
How do you plead to each of these indictments?
Not here.
Thank you, sir. Is there a question of bail?
There's no question of bail, but I would ask the court to impose the same conditions that were imposed in the Stoughton District Court. Correctly, if my memory is wrong, I believe it's no contact with the alleged victim, stay 100 yards away from his place of work and residence.
What are the allegations on these, on this one?
Intimidation of a witness, Your Honor.
Yeah, but what's the nature of it?
This was the parents outside.
Oh, outside the
shop.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Judge, that's agreed under section 86.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, I'll impose that.
Thank you.
The judge may do that now.
When should we do that now? Just.
Mr. Carney, the court recognizes the person without showing the following conditions. You will have no contact right around the victim in this case. You are to stay away, have no contact, stay away 100 yards from the residence and the place of work of the complainant. Do you send those conditions, sir?
Yes.
And you're hereby notified of your charges under the period of your release. Bail in that matter may be revoked and informed to maximum allowed. 276 section. Thank you.
All right, what else are we gonna do?
Judge, if I may jump in right there, just for the record, we filed 2 arraignment-related motions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Obviously, we can push those to another day with 2 small exceptions of just an order to preserve notes of investigators and to preserve video, if I may, Your Honor. I don't believe there's an objection.
Okay.
There is not.
Yeah, those are both, so the side, the Commonwealth started to preserve notes of investigators and to preserve video. What else can I do for you?
For me or for Mr.
Why don't I
Brady?
start with you, Mr. Cosgrove? Go right
All
ahead.
right. So Your Honor, entered a discovery order the last time you were here. I made substantial progress on it. I can't say I fully complied with it, but I have about, let's see, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 or 6,000 pages of discovery to provide Mr. Bradel today. And I had planned, Your Honor, to file that with a motion for a protective order, which I had served on Mr. Bradel a couple of nights. Mr. Bradel. And we have been going along with these, essentially tracking protective orders in the Karen Reed case. And in fact, much of the material is duplicate of the discovery turned over the Karen Reed case. And I pretty much followed the form protective order. These have all been allowed with the agreement of the defendant and without prejudice.
Okay.
I understand that Mr. Bradel wishes to bring that practice to an end as of today. I'm in a somewhat different position.
All right, let me hear from Mr. Bradel. Mr. Bradel,
Thank you, Your Honor.
give me your argument.
I appreciate it, Your Honor. Judge, the Karen Reed case is over with. It's moved, it's gone, okay? And my filing, Judge, entitled, Aiden Carney's motion to release case documents from impoundment is what we're talking about here, Your Honor. So I asked the court last time, and we had so much business on the docket last time, I don't think we circled back on it. But I was asking to just release everything from impoundment, Your Honor. The fact that things are embarrassing or scandalous or cause negative light to be cast upon public officials, Your Honor, is not a reason to impound documents. It's actually a reason to release documents. And that's really all the Commonwealth has left on the existing stuff, is that, gee, this might make investigators look bad. This might make special prosecutors, present company accepted, look bad. This might, cause election shifts, and that's not a reason to impound things, Your Honor. And initially, we have sort of taken the candy from, from the Commonwealth, and when they say, we'll give you the stuff, but just agree to this protective order. So we want the stuff, but at some point we have to get off of that train, Your Honor. This is a case of immense public interest. This is a case of, First Amendment issues, and I know we may disagree on that, but that's what our adversary system is for, and that's okay. And I think every case that eventually gets to the SJC or the Supreme Court starts with a trial judge maybe not agreeing with it, so that's okay. And, that's what we have here. But in any event, Your Honor, I think we can agree that this case brings to the fore really important issues about what is witness intimidation, what is journalism, where does the First Amendment fit in, and, these text messages about, and I'm trying to not speak of them in open court, but we all know what they say, and we all know that there's a public interest in shining some sunlight on these things. So we're not asking to, publish someone's address or someone's phone number. We're asking for the content of these communications that these folks have issued between and among each other. And the content of them per se has no persuasive power to make you want to impound them.
Let me ask Mr. Cosgrove, what interest at the moment does impoundment serve?
Your Honor, I've just been handed 20 minutes ago a fairly extensive motion suggesting that I have all kinds of various burdens to justify impoundment and citing a lot of case law. I would like an opportunity to file.
I give you that. Was a week enough?
I'd like a little more than that.
About 2 weeks.
All right.
There you go. I'll give you 2 weeks. I'll take it under advisement. And if you want to file anything else, Mr. Bradel, Mr. Federer, you absolutely have every opportunity.
Thank you very much, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Now, Your Honor, with respect to the items that I was going to turn over today,
So I'll allow the motion. Mr. Bradel, I'm up here.
Sorry, Your Honor.
It's all right.
I thought I had a minute.
That's fine. You got to talk to your client, you got to talk to Mr. Federer. My point is this. If you want the stuff today, I'll allow it without prejudice.
Sure.
And then I'll see what you have to say and what Mr. Glasgow.
We have to take the candy.
That's fine.
Please note our objection. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I will allow Mr. Cosgrove's motion without prejudice. And I'll take any submissions that you have, and I'll give you a final answer probably in about 3 weeks.
Thank you very much.
Does that make sense? Okay.
And then, Judge, just to shift gears a little bit, there's some outstanding discovery that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And I want to start off, I know that the court's time can be much better spent in discovery disputes. So we talked about the idea that we would go to the DA's office, and to the extent there's items that the government says they've given us that we can't open up or figure out, we're going to, I think we're going to agree to go in person with our people and figure it out. So
Yeah, sure.
That's the first thing I want to say. But then, in addition, Your Honor, there's the this inventory that I filed. It's entitled Inventory of Outstanding Items in Connection with our third motion to compel. There's about 10 things, Your Honor, and I think, unfortunately, that the government ought to go through and answer to us today about what the status of these things is. And we've been kind of going back and forth about these things for a long time. I looked back, Your Honor, and my first discovery request was February of 24. And second and third, were the months following. And in fairness, counsel for the Commonwealth was not the prosecutor of record at the time. But, the rules are the rules, and we need this stuff, and it's gone on way too long. So these are the 10 things that I think are very important, maybe 9.
Mr. Cosgrove, might you want to take that 2 weeks and respond to all of those?
Can you give me an extra week?
I'll give you an extra week.
Thank you.
All right. But it is, Mr. Brennan makes a very good point. As we all know, I think that it's important that the discovery be turned over so that we can bring a timely trial to the case.
I don't disagree with Your Honor. Notwithstanding that Mr. Bradel has some complaints, and some of them may well be legitimate, there has been a substantial amount of discovery turned over in this case.
Yeah. If you turn over 5,000 pages today, it's a lot of discovery.
We appreciate it, Your Honor.
Okay, great.
Thank you. And Attorney Better has a number of items as well.
Mr. Better.
Thank you, Judge. Just going back briefly to some of the issues about impoundment.
Yeah.
There are some items that are currently under impoundment, which we believe ought to be released from impoundment. Specifically, messages from Michael Proctor and a civilian witness. Those messages were cited in our motion to dismiss. As the court is no doubt aware, Michael Proctor is terminated from the state police. He has been a matter of public interest with his involvement in both the Karen Reed case, which led to Mr. Carney's interest, and ultimately, on some level, his indictment in this case. But also, those messages were impounded ostensibly for privacy interests, security interests, those sorts of things. Recently, Michael Proctor has been on a press tour on ABC News and NBC News, vigorously defending his investigative conduct. The messages that are at issue here, which are impounded, the public is entitled to see that. There is certainly a presumption of public access to those files. Michael Proctor has surrendered any privacy interest he has by addressing those issues, as has the other civilian that we're talking about, who also recently appeared on national news with other members of her family defending her and her family's conduct in this case. Those messages should be publicly available. If there's going to be information that's in the public realm, there's no reason why information that the prosecution wanted concealed from public view should be concealed any further. If the court likes, we can approach and show you the messages. I would suggest they are relatively straightforward, and there's no reason for those to be impounded at this time.
Okay. Anything you want to say to that, Mr. President? Not going to give you another week. Why not, please?
Well, I would suggest it would make sense to take this up when we take up the.
I think that makes sense.
I won't ask for another, I won't ask for another day.
That's, why don't I do this? Why don't you all come up to the side, let me take a look.
You are the,
Thank you. Judge, one outstanding issue relates to the second of the three indictments that relates to Lindsay Gaetani. We moved and were granted a hearing to disqualify Mr. Mello from prosecuting that case because he is an essential witness in that matter. That issue was decided in September of 2024. A hearing was ordered in January of 2025. For reasons which the court is familiar with, that hearing has been put off. Nevertheless, we're looking to move this forward, and the issue is not resolved, and we're led to believe that Mr. Mello will not voluntarily withdraw. For whatever reason, we need to do this hearing. We believe that he's going to be a defense witness in this case. We're getting discovery between him and another civilian witness today, which I think is going to further that application and very likely make him even more a prosecution witness. And we just can't kick this can down the road for close to a year. So we would like to schedule a date for Mr. Mello to either appear, be examined under oath, explain the consequences, which the court, again, is probably familiar with. He was contacted by the complainant during the alleged crime repeatedly, 4 or 5 times over the course of that day. Instead of the police being called, he was an ear witness to these allegations. Respectfully, he needs to come in here, answer these questions so the court can issue a decision as to whether he's going to be allowed to continue or whether we can go through the process of subpoenaing him and any other items that might be of assistance to us with calling him as a witness.
Mr. President.
Can I inquire if Mr. Mello is online?
I do not see him. Attorney Mello? Last time the business is named, there is no one else.
Can I approach?
Of course, come on up. Mr. Federer, you said you have one more thing.
Yes, Judge. Just as it relates to discovery, we have made a series of discovery demands from the prosecution ranging from October of 2024. As of this date, not including whatever was filed today, we have made 4 very thorough, detailed discovery demands sourced regarding contacts between a civilian named Catherine Peter and the state police and the district attorney's office regarding her very unique relationship in all matters involving Mr. Carney. Those demands, which again are in the files, Mr. Cosgrove has them outlined in detail, her frequent contacts with the state police, with people that are prosecutors, statements that she has made under oath in court proceedings stating that she helps authorities get Mr. Carney, voice recordings that she has left Mr. Carney indicating that she provides information to them. So we have asked for any discovery related to Ms. Peter going on about a year. Now, today, for the first time, we are admittedly getting something that relates to her communications with Mr. Mello. I'll only note that all materials that relate to Ms. Peter and the prosecution were ordered by the court in early May to have been provided within 20 days. That didn't happen. We got stuff today. That's fine. But the real issue here is that in light of the change in Rule 14 from last March, the game is very different than it might have been before in terms of what the prosecution is obligated to do and what I don't believe they've done in this case, which is go to every member of the prosecution team, which is everyone in the district attorney's office, any of the state police who are involved in these matters, which includes Michael Proctor at the time, Yuri Buchanan, Lieutenant Tully, Fanning, there's a whole list of them. The Karen Reed prosecutors who are also covered, who got a little bit involved, as the court is aware, in Mr. Carney's case and may or may not have had a relationship with her too. She has made statements allegedly indicating some involvement in that case. The rule requires the prosecution, whether they credit the information or not, to contact each individual that is on the prosecution team and make an inquiry and find out whether there is any material and disclose it. We don't think that that has happened. We respectfully submit that is something that Mr. Cosgrove has to do. In particular, I would draw the court's attention to testimony that was given by a member of the state police in February of 2024, which led to a wiretapping charge against Mr. Carney, in which Fanning of the state police stated under oath that they received a recording, a 30-second recording from Catherine Peter, that it was given to Lieutenant Tully and then given to Fanning, and we have no evidence of that. We don't have a copy of the recording. We were given the wrong recording in that regard. We have no police reports. We have no communications. We have nothing. If they don't exist, they don't exist, but they're obligated to look for it, make the inquiry, and report back and say whether any of this exists or not. And the last thing I'll note on that point, under the new rule, it doesn't matter whether the prosecutor credits any of this, thinks it's nonsense, thinks it might be real, they're obligated to do it, and we simply ask respectfully that the court instruct the prosecution to do that and disclose whatever evidence ought to be disclosed, or make a statement on the record that there is nothing to disclose, and if that's the case, then we'll all live and die with the consequences of that statement.
Okay, Mr. President.
No, it's largely been done.
Is that part of the 5,000 pages that you turned over?
It is, among the things turned over is the email from Catherine Peter to Brian Tully providing that 30-second clip.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fine. So that's just all that. You said that you had some things you wanted to bring up. Go ahead.
Yes. So this will be an opportunity, Your Honor, for myself and Mr. Godero to do an absolute 180 on our positions on disclosure of impounded documents. Your Honor will recall that the last time we were here, attached to a discovery motion was an affidavit.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, it was initially filed provisionally without hearing from the Commonwealth. Was impounded upon, I believe, not the affiant's representation, but I think Mr. Bradel's representation that the affiant was in fear that there would be some sort of retaliation by the Commonwealth. I think Your Honor will recall fairly outrageous, if I can put it that way, representations that were made by the affiant. I believe now, as I moved at the time, that affidavit should either be stricken or that the impoundment order should be lifted. I don't believe an affiant should be allowed to accuse an assistant DA of jury tampering and a district attorney of having secret meetings with witnesses and all these other things, and then hide behind an impoundment order.
Okay. We hear from the other side.
Yes, a couple things that I think ought to be corrected. The affiant is not alleging what happened. the applicant is alleging under oath that she was told by another individual who we were discussing earlier what happened. That's the first point. The second point is that document was attached as an exhibit to a discovery demand. Discovery demand number 4, alleging more reason to believe that there is an obligation for the prosecution to look into possible discovery that is in their possession, custody, or control. If that affidavit were to be stricken, that means literally nothing. They are still obligated to do whatever it is they had to do. And at the time that that motion was discovered until 20 minutes ago, absolutely nothing has been turned over regarding this person who brags about working for the authority. So I don't know the relevance of doing anything one way or the other with respect to the affidavit. Now, that person may very well have a privacy interest because the day after that affidavit was filed, her apartment was essentially covered in personal information about herself that could have only come from someone with access to law enforcement. And almost certainly that individual was subjected to charges of witness tampering, which I believe were actually under investigation. It may still very well be. I can't go farther than that. I don't know. Somebody, whoever did this, wrote snitch on her door. So I would suggest in this situation, impoundment of her name is more than appropriate.
Okay. Just make 2 points in response. One, I don't think it's entirely true that the affiant was simply relying on recounting hearsay. If she was, that would say something about the credibility of the affidavit as well. But I seem to recall, Your Honor, that at this one point, the affiant represented that she was present when Ms. Peter, I believe it was having a phone conversation with Hank Brennan, and that she, the affiant, recognized Hank Brennan's voice because she was familiar with it. So I don't think it was simply a matter of hearsay. The second thing I'd say is that the identity of this person is all over the internet, and was all over the internet at the time it was before you the other day. I don't know what the interest is, given those circumstances, in concealing it in the court papers.
Judge, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Could I just add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, these things that were affixed to her door in her apartment building, which is the same apartment building that Ms. Peters lives in. And I think the implication was made at the time, first of all, that event was publicized by Mr. Kearney on the internet, the photographs of the door in question. And I guess I would just question, Your Honor, the source of those documents, let's put it that way. Okay.
Very quickly, Your Honor. In terms of this individual's name being on the internet, there are 2 reasons for that. The first is because Ms. Peter identified her publicly and led to this kind of harassment. The other reason, and this was no question a mistake, but Mr. Cosgrove mentioned her name accidentally, and no question, no malintent, but her name was stated in open court, and as you can see, people watch in court, online, and whatnot. So the fact that her name had been put out accidentally through no fault, with no malintent, is not a reason I think we just open up the affidavit to her name.
Okay, thank you all. So we have a date for, what was it, August? What was the date, Mike?
August 13th.
August 13th. And then we'll pick a date for the other issue. Am I correct, Mr. Westbrook?
Yes.
It's the end of the month.
Now, or you want to pick it on?
Why don't we pick it on the 13th? I think that makes sense.
All right, I may have some, I'm sorry, I should be saying.
That's okay.
I may have some information about
That's fine.
the health status at that time.
All right. We'll see you all on August 13th. Okay, thank you all.
One more, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I believe we have an agreement, Mr. Bradle has responded relative to the source code for accessing the search of the devices. And he's indicated that it was the same source code previously provided to Lieutenant Tully, and that he would supply it again if necessary. And I've indicated to him that that's appropriate, and I think he should supply it today.
Sure,
And I
Mr.
don't think
Bradle.
there's a disagreement with that.
You don't disagree with that, do you? All right. I'll see you August 13th.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you.